Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. When it comes to selling, my friends, you could be a fantastic salesperson, a fantastic CEO, entrepreneur, president of a company, but the number one obstacle that is getting in your own way is sitting between your ears, and it's your mindset. It's limiting beliefs. It's all the crazy dialogue that you have going on in your own skull. But I've got the man, I've got the myth, I've got the legend, Mr. Bob Regnerus. Welcome to the show.
Oh man, David, we're going to have a blast today. I'm not sure I'm a legend, but I'm certainly a myth.
Well, there you go. And aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yeah, it's going to be fun today.
Start us off. I would love to hear the professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing today, and what were some interesting pit stops and detours along the way.
Oh, how much time do we have?
We got unlimited time, my friend.
So I started on the corporate path. We're going back to 1992. So that was pre-Y2K. I was in technology, and that was all the rage because all the computers only stored their digits with 2-year codes. So programmers were just having a heyday in the years leading up to Y2K. And so I was one of the guys that worked on big mainframe computers. I actually started that in college. And so I thought I was going to be a programmer all my life. Well, 1998 comes along, the internet becomes something that is quite interesting to many folks, including me. And so I decided to take my programming skills to the internet, and I built my first e-commerce website for one of my good vendors. Now, what you don't know, and I'll get into this, is I've been a basketball coach for 39 years. So I started when I was 3 years old.
Clearly.
In fact, I started when I was 16. And so I got my uniforms and basketballs from this company called Payless Sports, that they're my vendor. I approached them and said, hey, I'm a programmer. You don't have a website. Let me build you a website. They thought, great idea. Here's a guy that's going to give us a website for a pretty good price. And so I built the website. It took me 5 months. They could now sell their products online. They were ecstatic. And David, what is the first question that somebody with a new website asks? How do we get traffic to the site? And
that would be nice.
I was already thinking like an entrepreneur. I said, oh, that's very interesting. I actually know how to solve that problem. When in fact, I had no idea how to solve that problem. So I went to the internet and found a man named Dan Kennedy, a man named Frank Kern, and the rest is history. I became a marketer at that point. I understood that the real leverage is not building websites. It's actually how to make those websites make money for the clients. And so I went on the marketing bandwagon. I focused my intensity and my learning on paid traffic. So I started with GoTo.com, Overture, Yahoo, MSN. It changed all these names over the years. Google AdWords, and eventually settled on Facebook ads. And I happened to write probably the highest rated Facebook book on Amazon with Perry Marshall. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising. And I thought my path was going to be all marketing. And then I realized in 2023 that my path was actually something else. And that's what we'll get into in this interview, which is helping people through some of the most transformational transitions of their lives. And that's really what my work is now, is I help people overcome limiting beliefs, overcome obstacles, climb mountains, write books, start businesses, make big career decisions, make big relationship decisions, do things for their health. That is what really turns me on. And that's what my work is these days, is helping people overcome these obstacles and climb those mountains, those big, big dreams that they never thought were possible.
I'm curious, Bob, with your sports coaching background, right? There's a lot of these sort of sports coaching methodologies and mindset that come to my mind, and I'm curious how you deploy those. For example, championship athletes.
Yeah.
They rehearse, they practice, they envision winning that game or breaking that record in their mind 1,000 times, so that breaking the record in real life or winning that game in real life becomes inevitable because they've felt it, they've seen it, they've touched it 1,000 times before. It would be ridiculous for it not to happen in real life. How much of that sports psychology and sports coaching background bleeds into your current work today?
Oh, it bleeds all over it, but in the most positive way. It's not a mess.
Yes.
Athletes and coaches and professional teams and amateur athletes have known this way before entrepreneurs picked up on it. They started doing this stuff in the 50s and 60s, where they started to envision what success looks like, practice games in their minds. Athletes themselves know and understand the discipline of honing their craft. They understood mastery before Malcolm Gladwell wrote about it. Yeah. They knew what it takes to be successful, and it's hours and hours of practice. But it's also taking that talent, refining it, and working and working and working. So athletes understand discipline. They understand showing up. I mean, how many times do athletes, think of the professional athlete, the grueling schedule of the National Football League or the NBA, playing multiple games, back-to-back nights, 4 games in 5 nights, the incredible amount of pain and trauma that their body goes through, but they understand they've got to show up. Entrepreneurs didn't really start understanding this and even hearing about this until the 70s. And it really started coming in the 80s and 90s. Tony Robbins came on the scene and introduced, and, Tony Robbins wasn't like the pioneer of it, but we understand like people under that ilk, right? Introduced the concept of visualization and mindset to achieve the goals. It's not just about having a logical plan. It's about having the mindset and the ability to focus and do the things that the athletes did. So it's really astute, David, that you picked up on that. It's just that athletics was probably 20, 30 years ahead of where we were in the entrepreneurial circles.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you work with athletes today on some of these big transitions in their lives. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. And this is a developing thing for me. I'll just be transparent. One of the things that I actually had to work on myself. So this is me it's confession time, David.
I'm ready.
That when I transitioned out of coaching basketball, now I've done it for 39 years and I retired, meaning like, okay, that career is behind. Well, what I've come to understand is that I didn't need to fully set that behind. Well, maybe I'm not going to be standing on the sidelines, but it took some people that really loved me and understood me to say, Bob, you've got 4 decades of working with young athletes from 5 years old up to 18 years old. And you've got so much in your brain that you've probably forgotten more than you could ever say about what it takes to do the things we talked about, the discipline, the showing up, leadership mindset, success mindset. And so what I decided was, after getting prodded by, again, people that love me and wanted to see me be successful, is let's go ahead and start to say, hey, I'm going to start coaching athletes at a higher level, not in their sport, but as they transition themselves into entrepreneurs. And so again, I've got 3 decades of experience as an entrepreneur, 4 decades as a basketball coach. What is it like to put those 2 things together? So what I'm building is an organization that caters to athlete entrepreneurs, but I'm also taking entrepreneurs and pairing them with athletes. So my vision is putting these people in one room and allowing them to bounce off each other. So an athlete has all this experience at honing their craft, at becoming a master in their particular sport, and they are trying to now apply that to their business. And then think about the entrepreneur who wants that championship mindset. They want to learn from the athletes. How do I show up every day? How do I create that success mindset? So by putting those 2 people together, those 2 groups of people, and facilitating conversations, I can actually enrich both of their lives by putting them together. So I don't have to walk away from being a coach. I don't have to walk away from being an athlete. I don't have to walk away from being an entrepreneur. I can take all of that, bring it in-house, use that skill set, use what I've learned, take those conversations to another level by putting people together in the same room. I'm really jazzed about it. And it's right now, we're just at the genesis of it. So I'm really glad to be talking to you about it because, as you can tell, I'm really excited about it.
That is so cool. I love that cross-pollination where, 1 + 1 = 10, putting these two groups of folks together with the backgrounds, the experiences, their philosophies, their principles, and what they each bring to the table. Hey now, what a great episode, right? Are you ready to build your own market eminence game plan using the power of speaking, publishing, and podcasting? Book a chat with me to build your plan and see if and how I might help you further. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. No sales team, no pressure, no goofballs, just you and me having a CEO to CEO chat about what's possible for you and your company. Hop on with me, doitmarketing.com/call. And now, let's jump right back into the interview. One of the beliefs that I've had, I think we talked about this in our last conversation, is that most business problems are personal problems in disguise. And I'm going to read a line from from one of your websites, the bobregnerus.com. Most entrepreneurs and leaders tirelessly chase strategies and tactics, hoping to achieve breakthroughs. Yet many remain stalled, repeating patterns or hitting invisible ceilings. OMG. Yes, yes, and amen. So you can do all the strategies, all the tactics. Here's your marketing. Here's your positioning. Here's your pricing. Here's your ad strategy. Here's your lead gen. And they just stay stuck. And most coaches and advisors and consultants go, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm laying out absolutely everything you need, but that quote unquote everything you need is all the externals. What's going on the internals that's the real problem in your experience?
This goes back to childhood. And I will use a classic marketing line here, David. It's not your fault. Society has programmed us to believe that answers are outside of us and answers are to be directed and given to us by people in positions of authority. At 5 years old, they sat us in a classroom in nice, tight little rows and asked us to listen to what the teacher said and to write down everything the teacher said. And then they trained us even further to regurgitate that knowledge back to the teacher in the form of quizzes and exams. Starting in this kind of century, I'd say, maybe in the last decade, some people are waking up to the fact that maybe that's not the best way. But think of the process from the age of 5 through age 22, right? We do this all the way through college. We have been taught that in order for you to be successful, you need somebody that knows more than you to pour their knowledge into your brain, and you need to absorb that knowledge and then go out and apply it. It sounds like a computer to me. It sounds like a robot. They are, and they is a very broad term, programming people to go do this particular task. Just follow the instructions. And then, of course, the entrepreneurial community just totally buys into this and says, well, I'm going to just sell people blueprints. Just do what I say. Just do what I do, and you will be successful. Well, here's the thing. If that was the solution alone, if information was the way to be successful, every single person that you and I know, including ourselves, would be wealthy, they will be fit, they will be in a great relationship, and their kids will absolutely love and adore them and will have no problems in life. Because all the information we need no longer sits in a library that we have to drive to and check books out. It actually is walking around with this on our phones. We have access to more information right now than we've ever had in our human history. And yet we still have broken marriages. We have failed businesses. We have people that are in poverty. We haven't figured out how to solve these problems, when all the information about how to solve those problems has been written ad nauseum for centuries, for millennia, about how to solve that. And so when you sit down at a conference or you sit down and read a book and you're like, okay, I'm going to change my life. You're going to sit there, you're going to take copious notes, you're going to absorb it. Maybe you're going to listen to your audiobook at night and just let it seep in. But the fact is that you have been programmed from the age of 5 and even sooner and even earlier than that, that the way to achieve things is to listen, apply information, and go. But studies have shown 83% of what you are hearing today is gone out of your brain in just 30 days. And so it's not about information. It's about what you believe. Beliefs, David, are the ultimate driver of what we experience in our life. What you believe to be true about who you are at the core is what you will experience in your reality. So if you find yourself, quote unquote, circling the mountain over and over, and you keep coming back to the same problem in your business, in your relationships, in your health, if you keep circling the mountain, it's not that you lack information, it's that you lack belief. And so the deepest work that you and I can do is get honest with ourselves and really understand, what is it that I believe? And here's the surprising thing. You may discover that the belief that is driving your current reality was installed when you were 5 years old, when your father said, and I don't know this, David, but we have parents that'll say, you're never going to be a success, David.
Oh, yeah.
Or don't you do anything right, David?
Yeah.
Or a teacher that says, I think it's really special that you want to be a scientist, David. But really what you should be doing is this. And they give you a different program. Yeah. And because we're young and because our brains aren't developed yet, we just go, yes, thank you. And that program got installed and we never dealt with it since. And those are the things that are driving our behaviors, because that's what we believe. That's what we believe about ourselves. And that's that's the work we have to do, is unprogram ourselves from those limiting beliefs.
Yes. Oh my gosh, for sure. Now, when you work with folks, and I know that you work with folks, you have like a super laser session, a spark session that we'll talk about later. You work with folks for kind of a deep dive day, and then there's other ways that you help people.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm just going to go to something non-business, just so most folks can get their head around it.
Yeah.
I need to lose weight. Let's say that's the problem. And this, I imagine, this has a couple of different sources. Number one, I eat or I drink to fill some emotional hole, emotional gap. I don't acknowledge that I have this problem. I just know I like to eat Twinkies and Milk Duds and pizza. And I can't envision myself doing any kind of exercise. I can't envision, oh God, Bob, I love pizza. I could never give up dairy. I couldn't possibly. I love chocolate cake. Unpack for us the different kinds of head trash that you just heard and what you might point out with your brilliant flashlight going into the dark depths of their programming or their subconscious to maybe help them see things differently.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places we can go and excavate. Let's start with this. There is a program in general society that this is what beauty means. This is what a healthy body looks like.
Yeah.
And subconsciously, we ascribe to say, yeah, I believe that too. Now, you may not physically say that creed out loud, like, I believe the perfect weight is 165 pounds and like, I have to have this color hair and like, I have to look this way.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, we do. And so one of the things is through our celebrity culture and through social media now, which is magnified, we look at people's pictures online and on television and we say, I am less than that. I am not up to the standard, and we have a standard that is unattainable. First of all, genetically, there are like, David, you and I could want to grow hair all day long, but if genetically we're not able to do so, then that is simply not something that we could do. But if we have the belief that in order for you to be beautiful and strong and attractive and all these things, in order for you to have that, you have to have this full luscious head of hair, then we are going to be pretty miserable. Same thing with diet. Now, that's just one aspect. Here's another aspect. You need to understand what you believe about yourself that causes you to eat in a way that you know is unhealthy. I mean, we have people that literally walk around with a cancer-causing substance between their fingers and in their lips all day long.
Yeah.
With the knowledge that it has been proven that cigarettes cause cancer. Now, I am not judging or speaking against somebody, but what it is it is a symptom of understanding that even if we know something to be harmful to us, we're still going to do it because there's something within us that is believing that we need to actually have that habit. And so what is the habit? What are we trying to fulfill by eating a certain way? The same way would go to somebody who's eating healthy. What is driving you to eat healthy?
Yeah.
We could dig into that. The idea here is that we need to understand what is our core motivation, because every behavior that we do, we can trace back to a cause, and that cause is caused by a belief. And so if you walk around with the belief, very simple belief, I am a healthy person. If you just simply have that belief, you are going to make different choices about what you put in your mouth, about what you breathe, about what you put on your skin, about who you talk to, about the places you put them, about the places you put yourself.
Yeah.
But some people might walk around with a belief that says, I am not worthy. And you may say, like, who thinks that, right? But when you sit down with people and you start to trace back, what is it that's causing me to do this particular action over and over? And you start to trace back, and they could pinpoint where somebody has told them you are not worthy. And they started that belief when they were 5 years old or 6 years old or 7 years old. And they have been fulfilling that belief their entire life. And so it's not always one particular thing, but we can always trace it back to say why you do this is because of this particular belief. And so it's both positive in terms of the way we would analyze it, like that's a positive way of eating, like you're eating vegetables and things like that, versus a negative belief like you're eating junk food or smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol in excess. Like there is a belief that we can trace back to. And then it becomes a choice. Again, you have sovereignty. We all have the ability to make choices. You are not a victim. We create our own reality. Now, you may have a proclivity to certain ways of eating. You may have proclivity to alcoholism and things like that. I'm not getting into the psychological and medicinal area, but the idea is that we have sovereignty and we can make a choice. When you decide that this behavior or this result from this behavior is no longer acceptable to me, that it's not for my highest and best good, my next action is to make a decision to change that action so that I can influence that belief and have a new result in my life down the road.
So incredibly powerful. Follow-up question. I'm just channeling our listeners and our viewers. Making that decision, like truly, deeply belief-based decision, I think that's pivot number one. A lot of people listening are going to ask you, Bob, tell me about willpower. What about tomorrow? What about next week? What about next month? How do I stay the course and stay strong in this decision? Do you believe in willpower? Is there such a thing as willpower? How do we tap into the continuous reinforcement of this internal belief?
I think willpower is not as strong as belief. I think people that say, I'm going to have the willpower to not pick up that cigarette anymore, don't understand that there's something deeper going on. There is a belief that you have that that cigarette is necessary for you. And so no matter what happens, even if you have all the power to go against your will to pick that cigarette up, you have a belief that is running, that is fueling the habit of you picking that up. Now, a lot of people picked up the habit of smoking in their teen years or even preteen years because their parents did it or their friends did it, and it became part of their life, and they don't understand what the meaning is. It may be that you see smoking as a way for people to see you as acceptable. You may see it as a stress release. So if you simply say, I'm no longer going to pick up this cigarette because I don't want to, but you have this deep down desire to be seen, to feel part of something, or to make up for a particular belief that you have about yourself, all the willpower in the world is not going to overcome that. Now, again, I'm choosing a particular behavior that perhaps we as society have deemed negative. I'm not saying that it is particularly negative. But what I'm saying is if you decide that this action or the result of my action is no longer acceptable. So let's say you've been smoking for 20 years and all of a sudden you become a father and you decide, you know what? I want to be healthy. Like I am coughing. I can't push my kid behind the bike without running out of breath and gasping for air. I'm choosing a different reality for myself. Then and only then can you start to address it. You have to say, what is it about smoking that fuels me because I want a different result in my life? So you have to go deeper. And I'll say it this way. You cannot change the fruit until you change the root. No getting around
it. Yes. Amen. One of the things that I love about your positioning, packaging, differentiation is multiple times in multiple places online, you say, I'm not a coach. I'm not a consultant. I'm not going to give you new strategies. I'm not going to give you new tactics. That's not what you need. I'm a mirror. Talk about Bob the Mirror.
Yeah. And thank you for picking up that subtlety. Coaching as an industry has kind of been absconded by marketers, and we kind of think of coaching as just tell me what to do. That's not coaching, that's mentoring.
Yeah.
It's also teaching. And there are places for mentoring. I believe highly in mentoring, sharing experiences with people, teaching. We do need knowledge. I'm not discounting the value of knowledge, right? We need knowledge. We need that. But coaching in its purest form is helping the individual see within themselves what it is that they want to discover. And so we're essentially all inside of a pickle jar. And it kind of feels like, hey, we're walled in and we don't really know who we are because the label is facing the outside. Yeah. And so what we do is we need others to basically read our label and reflect back to us what they see on the outside. It's really difficult for us, unless we're really aware, to say, oh, this particular result in my life is because I'm thinking this way. What you actually need is a mirror. You need somebody to sit with you in a really intentional way to listen to you and reflect back to you what they see or hear. I just got back from a really transformational experience. I'm part of a group. It's called Curiosity Island. It's an amazing group. But what we did was we secretly were given somebody else to observe. And what our task was to observe them without them understanding who's observing them. And we did a lot of activities where we played. Now, this really ties back into my coaching days where I would tell my team, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, look, I'll just use a former player's name. Look, Adam, I know that because you aren't giving 100% in practice, I could probably walk to all of your teachers and see that you probably aren't giving 100% in the classroom. And I bet if I went home and saw you at your home with your parents, you're probably not giving 100% there either. And so the idea is that you can observe somebody in an environment that maybe they don't expect, but they're going to show up authentically if they know they're not being watched. And so what we were able to do was really cool was we were doing things like we did improv, we did miniature golf, we did an escape room, and we got to observe each other and reflect back to that individual that evening what we saw about them, both from a standpoint of what do we see are your really good qualities and how you showed up in that game. Yeah. And then what are some areas that maybe you are hiding that show up in your play that you aren't exemplifying in your business. And it was powerful. It's powerful. So when you have somebody who truly sees you, who truly hears you, and can reflect back to you the things that you aren't able to see because you are inside the jar, this is when you really get to the process of uncovering limiting beliefs, seeing the best part of you, and really shaping and changing your future. What I like to say is, everything's happening now. When you change your now, you not only change the future, but you change the past. And that's because you have somebody that's willing to sit in front of you, be that mirror to show you what they see. Sometimes it is a very positive thing and it propels you forward. Sometimes it's reflecting back hard truths, and a good coach will do that. Sometimes it's tough love. I've had to do that many times over my coaching career, which is, hey, David, this is what I'm seeing. And you just have a tough conversation, and they have to come to grips with, yeah, I am acting in this way, or I'm creating this result in my life. And then they get to make a decision. I'm not here to say you need to change. I'm here to say, if you want this reflection back, here's what I'm seeing. You get to decide what you do with this now. This awareness is creating a decision point for you. You can decide to change, or you could decide to stay in the way. You are sovereign. You create your own reality. You get to have your own existence. But if you're willing, I'm here to share what I see in you and what I believe to be your best qualities, so that the possibilities of what you can be become real for you. That's what a mirror truly does.
Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. Well, I'm going to ask you two final questions, Bob, as we're landing the plane here. The final question is, how can people take the next step and go further with this? But if the previous question to that, if we were to leave people with one overarching concept about fulfilling their potential or breaking through to their next level, understanding all of these amazing value bombs that you just shared with us, what would you hope that one overarching concept or takeaway would be?
It would be this: you are sovereign. Your reality is shaped by what you believe and what you do. You have control over it. It's not done to you. Life is not happening at you. It's not happening to you. Life happens for you. If I could share anything with anybody who's sitting in a place where they just feel like life is just coming down on them and pressing down, is letting them see that you have the ability. I mean, we've seen this in movies over and over. It's when the hero finally realizes that they have the power within them. These are the stories that just become part of our culture, right? Harry Potter finally understood at an older age what he was able to do and how he was able to deliver on this very big promise that was bestowed upon him before he was even able to understand it. Harry was able to free so many people. He was able to defeat evil, bring in good, but he knew what his power was. So you have the ultimate ability to bring yourself out of any situation. Now, you may need others to walk alongside you and help pull you up, but you have the ability. Life happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. That is the biggest thing that you can realize. And when you understand that, life doesn't become about problems anymore. It becomes about possibilities. When you have possibilities, you have infinite hope. Hope is all about possibilities.
Totally. 10,000%.
Yeah.
Bob, share with us what people can do to take the next step. How do they get connected and stay connected to more Bob Regnerus brilliance? What is the links and the resources that we can put in the show notes?
I like to say all the good stuff is at coachreg.net. That's coachreg.net. If you are sitting on a situation where you need the help of a mirror, if you want somebody to sit down and really listen at a deep level, like not just level 1, but level 2, level 3, help you see what's inside of you that you can't see yourself, I would invite you to a Spark session. I love doing these. And I can guarantee one thing out of that. You will get an aha moment. It's happened 100% of the time. I've done nearly 100 of these. You will have a moment where you see it. My client yesterday sat back. He was doing his call from his truck, and he's going through a big ordeal right now. He sat back about 65 minutes in the call and he goes, holy shit. And he just had a moment where the awareness just came down on him. And I just let him sit in that energy. What he realized for the first time was that he was in control of the situation and it wasn't happening to him. That to me, like if I can create an environment where those moments happen to you, I didn't manufacture that. I just created a space for him to realize that that was possible. Yeah. Those are magical moments and they always happen. They happen 100% of the time. Sparksession.net. It's singular, sparksession.net. That takes you right to the page. You can hear all kinds of great stories on that page. It is a way for you in 1 hour to achieve that aha moment and get ultimate clarity and figure out your next step, work through a problem. It's to take one particular aspect and get clarity on that and finally move forward. Even if you've been circling this for months or years, you can literally in 1 hour have a new choice and a new direction, and you will leave that call with one thing to do. I'm not going to overwhelm you. You will decide what that one thing is that you're going to do to finally move forward from that situation. I love doing those. I would be so happy to work with anybody from the show to achieve that aha moment and help them move forward.
Tremendous. And all of those links, including the link to book your Spark session, are directly under this episode at thesellingshow.com. Bob, you are amazing. You are my spirit animal. Someday I'm going to grow up and I want to be half the mentor and guide and mirror that you are. Thank you.
David, may you never grow up.
Now that we can pretty much guarantee.
I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm. So fortunate for people that get to listen to the show all the time. The energy is enthusiastic, and you're making a change just by bringing that energy each and every show.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.